Okay, guys, this is your technologies teacher walking you through the basics of Google Sketchup, which, as I told you, it's going to be our 3D computer-assisted technical drawing tool, which we're going to use for building 3D models this term. First thing we're going to do is searching for Google Sketchup in our browser. And when we write Sketchup, we can have several different results. Make sure you go in the official website, which is sketchup.com. So don't click on any or the other options. Just click on the official one. This is going to take you directly to the Google Sketchup website, where you're going to see this, where you have to click on Try Sketchup. First, I would like you to make sure you're signed in. To sign in, you can use your Google account. So you click on sign in. If you're not already logged in, which you probably are if you are using your Google account. I'm trying to sign in myself. This website is quite loaded with information, so it can get a little bit slow sometimes, like this time has happened to me. Now I'm logged in. Imagine you are not. You just basically have to type your Google username and your password. You all have a Google username, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to use your mobile phone, so just make an effort, try to remember it. If you don't, you can create a Google account straightforward for Sketchup, and in that case, please write down your username and password somewhere. You can find it later on, so you don't lose your work, because everything you do here is going to be stored in the cloud, in the Google Cloud. So you don't want to lose it, then you don't want to lose your username and password. Then we're going to click on Try Sketchup here. And well, there's many options here that we can use, like resources, when you can make courses to learn Google Sketchup. And here, as you see, there's plans and prices, because this is a program that you can download and install in your computer. And there is a free version, there are premium versions. We're going to use the online version. So here you're going to click on Para Proyectos Personales, and you're going to select free. And click here where it says Empezar a modelar, right? Now this step is going to take long. All right, so we're in. We have the option to start modeling, or you have the option to make a little path or have a little like general outlook. You can do this at home. I am going to skip it because I'm going to explain you the same as this little path is showing you. So I'm directly going to empezar a modelar. Right? And this is the SketchUp's interface. The first thing we're going to do is changing the name of this project. Here where it says Sin Título, I'm going to give it a name, and we are going to save it in the cloud, right? So let's wait for this. Okay, we're going to save it here in SketchUp, and we can, if we want, we can add a folder, which I'm going to do, that we can call, I don't know, TPR third ESO, which we can later use for making sure we only save things about technology here, in case you want to use it for other subjects, which you could. And we're going to call this first project P1, sorry, U2, which means Unit 2, P1. And then our name and surname, ¿vale? I am going to write Gabriela Rubio. You don't write Gabriela Rubio. You write your name and surname. And you click on guardar aquí. And ya está. We can see here the name of the file. As you see on the interface, we're always going to find a model of a person who's going to give us a little bit the idea of the scale, and we're going to find 3 axes, blue, green, and yellow, and red, that indicate the orthogonal directions. These are going to be super useful, right? We are going to orbit on the model through this tool, which is here orbitar, we have a zoom, which allows us to moving our mouse left and right while we click on the mouse to zoom in and out, and the orbiting tool, which allows us to, while we click and move the mouse, orbit on the 3D model to have a look at it from multiple points of view. How we can do this a little bit easier if we have a mouse with two buttons and a scroll wheel. We don't need to use these tools constantly because you can use your scroll wheel to zoom in and out, and you can push the scroll wheel and directly orbit on the object by just clicking on the scroll wheel and moving the mouse, right? So I strongly recommend getting a mouse with the scroll wheel for this project. Right, first thing I'm going to do is I am going to clear this woman because it's not going to help me in this case, and I want to remove it. So what you have here basically is different toolbars with the most used drawing tools, and here you have options to learn about what you're doing, tag your objects, create videos, scenes, and so on. So for example, I'm going to click on the select tool, and before I teach you how to use it, I want you to have a look at this, where it says Instructor. If we open it, it is going to explain us how the tool that we have selected works, ¿vale? Entonces, como tengo seleccionado seleccionar, I am going to read here in the Instructor how we use la herramienta seleccionar. ¿Cómo funciona? Haciendo clic. Otros métodos, selecciona las entidades que vamos a modificar. So, for example, if I have clicked the select tool and I click on the woman, I have this object selected, and now I can do multiple things with it. Second tool, erase. Herramienta borrar, borra entidades, right? So basically, if we want to deselect, we can click escape, sorry, que es lo que acabo de hacer. Tengo esto seleccionado, quiero deseleccionar, le doy a escape on the keyboard. ¿Vale? O pincho en otro punto del modelo. And then for erase, I just basically click on the object I want to clear and boom, it disappears. Right? Bien. Now we're going to start modeling. We have to understand a concept which is extrude, which is going to be new for you, and it's the basic concept when we're working with Google Sketchup. Okay, so extruding means force, press, or pushing something out. So it is a technique done with molten metal to build objects that we would study if we studied materials and technology. But it basically means pushing out a surface to mold something. So in Google SketchUp, that's going to be our most useful tool, extruding, right? And the extruding tool is this one here, right? But we're going to start by drawing something. So we're going to draw a rectangle. Here we have the rectangle tool, and if we click on it, we're going to see in the instructor how we have different, how it explains how to use this tool. Haz clic en la primera esquina, mueve el cursor y haz clic en la segunda esquina. So esto es the option rectangle. Como veis, when I get the cursor of the mouse, the mouse pointer close to an important point, is going to highlight it. So if I get close to the origin, it is highlighted so I can really click exactly on that object. And I am going to, as it says, drag my mouse to try to find the other corner. When the rectangle marks that diagonal, it is telling me that it's a square. So if I closed here, this would be a square. I can do it more long. I can do it shorter, longer, right? And of course, I am working on the orthogonal direction. So let's say we want to draw this rectangle. I click again and I block it. Now, another thing that's also very important in Google SketchUp is that we have to understand that we're working with two important entities. One of them is edges, aristas. This is an edge, ¿vale? And with surfaces, superficies. This is a surface, right? So we can act both on edges and on surfaces, And that is something that we have to really understand, how we can select a surface with the select tool or an edge with the select tool as well. Now we're going to extrude. For extruding, we basically just have to select the size we want to extrude and click on it. Then move our mouse up or down and release the mouse where we want the final position to be. Boom, I release the mouse and this is my block, right? I am going to zoom out and orbit around it so I can see how the 3D object looks like. Okay, bien. Other things we can do when extruding are drawing figures on top of simple prisms that we have and make them a little bit more complex. So I am going to draw another rectangle here. And I am going to extrude it. And now I'm going to draw like a little roof. So I'm going to use the line tool, right? Line tool, que aquí tenemos también cómo dibujarlo. We can make straight lines or we can make freehand lines. We're going to draw a triangle on this side. Como veis, when I click on the first corner, me sugiere utilizar este corner. And when I drag the mouse, me está diciendo que si sigo esta dirección, I am drawing on the blue axis, which means that would be a vertical line. But I can also draw on other directions. See, this would be any random direction that I actually cannot control because I am working on a 3D model. That would be the red direction. See? And this would be the green direction. So let's draw on a vertical blue axis and let's make a triangle here at the bottom of our prism. And we're going to extrude this triangle to form like a little roof here. Vale? One thing that's very interesting too is that maybe if we don't like the height of this new volume that we've built here, we can correct it after having drawn it. So imagine we think this is too long, we want to make it shorter. One thing we can do is moving this edge down. So we click on the move button and we select the edge that we want to move down and we click on move. So we can click on the ending point and we can drag it vertically on the blue axis to make it a little bit shorter, right? So this is going to be our second object. Perfect. All right, our next object is going to be a cylinder, right? When we have the rectangle icon here, it actually refers to different geometrical shapes we can draw, such as, for example, a circle. So we're going to draw a circle here on this plane, and we are going to extrude it as we did with the rectangles and so on, right? Good. What is good about the circle is that when we get closer to the circle, it is going to suggest us the center of the circle. So we can do one thing, which is click again and draw another circle. So we can make like a donut and remove this part. How would we remove this part? Remember, we're working with surfaces, right? So we could remove the surface. We have two different surfaces. Okay, so sorry, my recording was interrupted. I'm going to continue. I'm back in SketchUp. I'm going to click on Empezar a modelar like the other day. Of course, I'm logged in. I'm going to give the program time for loading. Okay, so once I'm inside SketchUp, I can access my last model, my last project, which is called U2P1. That means that, as you can see, your projects are being stored in the cloud in your Google account. So you can leave a project like this one unfinished if you have something else to do, and then later on you can open it and continue working on it. We were talking about how with the SketchUp we have to understand things are formed by edges and surfaces, and we had drawn this circle inside the other cylinder, which means we now have two cylinders we can work with individually. We can extrude up or down, and I want you to remove this cylinder by extruding it reversely. So I select the face, surface, and I am going to extrude it to the bottom until I make it disappear. There we are. Now we can extrude it here, and it says en la cara, and then it disappears. So we can pierce a hole on our cylinder. This project is only making these 3 figures plus an extra one you're going to invent. Right before passing to that point, I want you to understand how this surface, because it's part of the same plan, we can make it an only surface because it is now divided into this square and this rectangle by selecting this edge and deleting it, right? So we click on the eraser and we delete it. So now we only have one surface. We could work on that surface as an entity. So we can, for example, extrude it again, and you see we will create a horizontal part here because of course this surface cannot grow in height, so this would be our object. Now your project is going to be creating these 3 figures plus an extra one of your invention. So I am going to invent one, and I am going to show you some utilities of this program that are going to be useful for next projects, right? Anytime we click on a point and to define a shape, we can read here acotaciones, which is a free space where we're going to be able to write things. When we click on a dot, it is going to tell us like the coordinates of those dots, this position on the plane. But the good thing about the SketchUp is that when we have a tool like the rectangle selected, we can type directly. So we just click with the mouse on the origin on the rectangle, and now we can type directly numbers that mean the measurements of the rectangle. So if I directly type 55,8 and click intro, I am going to have a rectangle with those dimensions, right? Okay, I'm going to make it bigger. Sorry. So rectangle, and I type 50,80, and it's going to define a rectangle with that shape, with that size, sorry. That also means that if I want to extrude, I can also type the extrusion height. So I can do this, and I can type, for example, 100 intro, and I'm going to have this rectangular shape. Now, I am also going to show you another option which is very useful in Sketch, which is the offset tool. When we are in the extrusion area, we have an arrow from which we can select different things, and one of them is the offset tool. So if we click there, what we're going to do is we can create a parallel polygon inside another polygon at a certain distance. So we can create an offset from this polygon, and we can decide the distance. As you see, the distance is changing here on the bottom on the coordinates square, but here we can select, for example, a 20 offset distance, and we would have a new square, or a new surface and a new group of edges we can work on as entities. So we can come back to extrusion, and we can extrude this new face we've created a certain distance, for example, let's say 20. Right? Another thing that we can do that you can find cool is adding text to our forms. So on the rectangle tool, you're going to find the 3D text tool, where you can type whatever you want. You can change the font, you can change the size, you can make it bold, you can fill it in or not, and you can choose the extrusion amount. Um, and you can place it wherever you want. So as you see, you're going to see it floating, and you can choose in which side of which polygon you want to add it. So you can, for example, add it here, and it's like a whole entity. You can later work on, delete, move, or whatever. Another tool that we have to understand is moving or turning or changing scale. If we select, for example, all these objects, we can, for example, move it. Of course, we can move it on any direction. It is going to, remember, suggest us the blue, the red, and the green directions if we don't want to move the plane we're working on. And the rotation tool shows us this kind of protractor on the different planes we can work in. If we do it here, we're working in a horizontal turn. So we click on the origin and we click on the desired angle, and we can turn the object around on a horizontal plane. So for example, I'm going to leave it there. We can also turn it around on this other direction. Okay. And of course, on this direction. All right. Another thing that we can do with Google, and it's quite interesting, is grouping objects, right? So at the moment, these objects are individual entities that we can work on. So for example, we can pick this edge, move it to change the shape of the object, right? If we don't want to make mistakes and move things that maybe we didn't want to move, and we want to leave this object as it is, we can group it, right? We can convert it into an individual object. To do so, we're going to use the select tool. We're going to select all the entities we want to group, and we're going to click on the right button of the mouse, and we're going to go to crear grupo. So this way we have a group we can act on without acting on its individual elements, so we don't make mistakes and we don't alter the object individually, although of course we can continue rotating the object or acting on it as a product or as a final shape. This is going to be very helpful when we want to start working with color and material, right? Because this, which is going to be your favorite tool, which allows you to paint and select colors from the screen. Okay, so the painting tool. When we click on the painting tool, we're going to see here a little library of colors, right? As you see here, I only have a few colors that I could use. So I could select one of those colors and click on the paint bucket. Clicking with the paint bucket on the surface I would like to paint. But maybe these are not enough for you. So we click on the search button here. This is the home button. This is the search button, and this is super cool because here you're gonna find thousands of different materials you can use to simulate different textures, colors, building materials. So starting from colors and having, as you see, a super wide range of colors you can choose from. We can also go to materials, and let me finish this one. We can also go to materials, and we can use, for example, brick texture and add it to our surface. Remember, we can orbit around the object and make sure we add this material to all the sides of our object. We can, I don't know, let's see, for example, let me close the colors. Agua. So we can simulate, this is a pool, right? Metal, and we can pick this kind of like stainless steel texture, put a different metal here. And depending on the angle we look at it from, we're going to see the different textures. Stone, we can take like a sandstone texture. And what I was telling you is that we can use the grouping option to apply one only material to all the sides of one object. So for example, if we go here to the wooden tool and we apply it to this object, all the tool is going to turn on wood because it's all grouped on the same object, right? So, bueno, pues this is going to be our first project. I want you to create these 4 figures, the rectangle, the prism, this shape, and this donut are compulsory. Then you can create a 4th shape of your taste. You can add your name or a text on it, and you can change the materials, the colors if you want, and you have to save it. Okay, our project is saved. I noticed I forgot showing you a tool that's very important for moving around the project. We already know how to zoom in and out with the wheel and how to orbit, but maybe we don't know how to move in this direction so we can see this object without zooming in or out. Sorry, I didn't show you this. In here, we have another option, which is move around with this, which is this hand that we can use to move around the project without orbiting or zooming, right? But again, we can, I mean, while we have this tool selected, we can continue zooming in and orbiting with the mouse, right? Okay. There are many things you can do for sharing a project that you have stored in your cloud, in your Google Cloud. One of them is exporting, and you have a lot of different formats you can use. One of them is PNG, which is an image picture. And if you click here, it's going to export an image of the precise point of view and scene you have at the moment. So you click in exportar como PNG y te dice que, bueno, que you're exporting a large image y, bueno, que te va a tardar un poquito. Le damos a no volver a mostrar esto, exportar. And we are going to wait for the program to process the photo. Okay, so as you can see here, the photo has downloaded. We're going to have it in our download folder, and we can open it as an image picture, or as an image file, sorry, with your image viewer, with your normal image viewer. So I am going to ask you to create this PNG file and send it to me through the task, right? So select one good photo of your project with the 4 figures, create a PNG file and send it to me through the Teams Tarea. All right, another really, really cool thing you can do with Google SketchUp is create simple, easy animations where you're going to make like a stroll around your model by creating scenes and making transitions between those scenes. So you create like a kind of movie around your project, right? Around your object. So I'm going to show you how to do it. I've orbited around the model until I got this view, which I thought was quite cool. And I am going to, on the right toolbar, I'm going to go to the video one, and I'm going to click where it says add scene. And as you see, the program itself has created a scene called scene 1, which is like a photo of this point of view where I'm placed at this moment. I am going to give it some time for processing, and now I am going to create a new point of view and add a new scene. Give the program a little bit of time for processing. Then I am going to create a new one. Let's say this one, create a scene. I am going to create a new one. For example, this one. This one. I'm going to get myself in the model. And from here, from inside the cylinder. Right. Cool, so I've created these scenes and now I can reproduce the animation. So what the model is going to do is showing the scenes one by one, creating a transition, like a movement between scenes. So you have created a simple animation of your model where you're strolling around it and stopping in the different scenes you created. You can set up a different time transition time or a different delay time if you want to make it faster or slower. And I remember when I used Google Sketchup online as an architect, we had the choice or the option to download this as a video file. But for what I've learned so far, there is not this option nowadays. You have to upgrade to a pay version, which I am not going to ask you to do. But I am going to ask you to send me this project so I can see you have been able to create your scenes. This is something you can do for reaching a 10 as your final mark. If you only send me the PNG file, as I told you earlier on, you're going to get a top mark of an 8. That's by only sending me the PNG file. If you create these things and want to share them with me, what you have to do is download the model. So you go here to the options and you go to download. So you download the file, and this, whenever it's downloaded, you go to mostrar en carpeta, lo tenéis aquí, tiene vuestro nombre y tiene vuestro título. You send it to me together with the PNG file, right? If you send me both things, if you send me both the SKP file and the PNG file, you can get a top mark of a 10, okay? So I invite you to try and record your scenes, make the animation, and send it to me so you can get your top mark. Okay, guys, so this is all for the introduction on SketchUp. I will explain you in class what are the deadlines for presenting this task, and I hope you enjoy it and discover many of the different functions that Google SketchUp can offer you.